New Zealand, a fairy tale country of mystical landscapes carved by glaciers, created by volcanoes. We will see from above ice and snow, mountains and fjords, rainforests and crystal clear seas. Come on a journey and discover this extraordinary land. New Zealand from above. New Zealand was one of the last countries on the planet to be settled by humankind, and due to its isolation, developed a unique diversity of flora and fauna. This land was settled by two peoples, Polynesians who originated from the Pacific around 950 AD, and Europeans. With the arrival of the Dutch explorer Abel Tasman in 1642, and subsequently the British explorer James Cook in 1769, the European world made its entry into tribal New Zealand. In 1840, British and Maori signed the Treaty of Waitangi, and New Zealand is now an independent nation with a diverse, multiracial society. New Zealand stretches for more than 1,500 kilometers, from a temperate climate in the far south to the tropical far north. The varied topography and geographic uplift of land results from volcanic eruptions caused by the clash of tectonic plates. If the map of New Zealand was placed over Europe, it would stretch from the Sahara to Stuttgart. The Southern Ocean traverses over 2,500 kilometers from Antarctica to New Zealand. This southernmost corner of the country is the start of our journey. Fiordland is a primeval wilderness of mountains and deep fjords. The area's high-sided valleys, waterfalls and fjords were gouged by glacial action between 15,000 and 75,000 years ago. Often the only way to access many locations in these mountains is by helicopter. Richard Hannibal Hayes is a respected pilot with over 27,000 helicopter flying hours. Hannibal's work takes him to many locations, attending to a wide variety of tasks.
Our work role here is very diverse. In one day we can do anything from a load of crayfish first thing in the morning. Then it might be repeater station work, then it could be a scenic flight thrown in on top of that, and then a medevac will come in, or Rescue Coordination Centre will say there's a beacon banging away somewhere. Each job is different.
Much of Fiordland's terrain is vertical, and there are very few roads. By joining Hannibal on his working day, we will see much of this unique wilderness.
Fiordland in the west coast of the South Island, it's a different flying environment than a lot of other countries have. You've got cloud issues, you've got rain, you've got fronts coming through. You've got to respect Fiordland, because if you don't, it will turn around and bite you really hard on the bum. It's a place that doesn't tolerate any complacency. It's a wonderful place to fly in, but the weather dictates what you can do.
In 1986, the United Nations included Fiordland in a World Heritage Area, Te Wāhi Pounamu, which includes 3 other national parks. Fiordland covers an area over 12,000 square kilometers. The mountains and fjords are dramatic evidence of the tectonic movement and glaciation which formed them.
There is a lot of variety in this game down here in Fiordland. We've done all the major films from Vertical Limit, Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, and just recently The Hobbit.
In the beginning, New Zealand was a land of birds. There were no native mammals. The flightless kiwi is unique to New Zealand and has become the national symbol. The southern brown kiwi lives in the Fiordland rainforest and fully grown stands almost 40 centimeters tall. The kakapo is the world's only flightless parrot, and since 1989, conservation programs have worked hard to save it from extinction. Many species, including weka and kea, inhabit these forests and walk these valley floors. Maori hunted in these mountains, trapping birds and eels and collecting food such as berries and fern roots. Maori were also regular visitors to the rocky shores of Fiordland. Expeditions sailed here in canoes, foraging for crustaceans such as crayfish. They gathered mollusks and fished the rich southern waters. Food was smoked and dried, providing sustenance over the harsh winters. When Europeans first came to Fiordland, it was for these, seals living on the coast. Seals had been a prime source of food for Maori, and now they were sought for their skins and their oil, both extremely valuable in Europe at the time. Seal pelts were high fashion, and the oil was prized for cooking, lighting, and as an all-purpose lubricant. The seal population has recovered now, but in the early 1800s, sealing gangs from Australia, seeking new hunting grounds after they destroyed the colonies on the coast of Tasmania, came to New Zealand, and in just a few years, decimated the Fiordland colonies. Fiordland seals are now protected, and fortunately for them, seal skin is no longer in fashion. The prize here these days is not on the rocky beaches or on offshore islands, but in the shallow waters in between. Crayfish. This is the fishing boat Ata Whenua.
I'm a fourth generation fisherman and the second working out of Fiordland. My father and a number of other fishermen founded the Fiordland Lobster Company, which exports from New Zealand 1.5 million crayfish a year to China. The crayfish that are caught in the southern waters of Fiordland are coming out of a colder water, and it seems to be a better taste for the palate of the Chinese. We now try and catch for 3 specific Chinese festivals in April, September, and the Chinese Spring Festival in our new year.
Darren works with a crew of only 2. To lift his cray pots, he often has to maneuver the Artefenua close to the coast, while Blair, his crewman, lifts the pots and collects the crayfish. To protect this valuable food resource, there is a strict quota system governing the number of crayfish that can be taken. There are also restrictions on crayfish size, and anything too small must be returned to the sea.
We have between 100 and 120 pots in the water. There are no fences out there. It's just a matter of getting along with the people that are alongside of you, and everyone's competing for the same bit of ocean. Well, the helicopters have opened up Fiordland for us, which means at the height of the season, $50,000 to $75,000 of product we can get out to the market within an hour that we're able to then continue fishing, and it's just more streamlined for us. So they're an integral part of our operation.
If you're lifting off a boat, you've got to look at the swell, where the wind's coming from. If they're in a big roller, a bit difficult to lift off. Mast is heaving around and the boat's rolling and pitching, and so it takes a wee bit to get the hang of that. When he's hooking it on and you're looking down the line, the boat may pitch and roll at the same time, and you've got to tell yourself that you haven't moved, the boat's moved. You're in the Southern Ocean, you might have 40 knots of wind on the nose and you're going backwards. So there's a few tricks there to keep yourself in one position.
"60 kilometres southeast of the Fiordland coast lies New Zealand's longest lake. Lake Wakatipu is 80 kilometres long and 378 metres at its deepest point. The 329-ton steamer Earnslaw was launched in 1912. And the captain is Lisa McElroy.
She was built to service the farming communities that were established around the shores of the lake. I've spent my life in the commercial boating industry. Started out being a skipper, working with this lake when I was 21 years old. I just loved being involved with boats, and I guess I'm the type of girl that likes to take on a challenge.